Should the two men found guilty of cutting down the Sycamore Gap tree be sent to prison? 0207 862 2222 is the number. Want to hear from you. Daniel, Graham and Adam Carruthers they are. They were convicted of criminal damage for destroying the world-famous tree back in September 2023. They're due to be sentenced today. Prosecutors said the pair carried out the mindless thuggery as a bit of a laugh. But when they realised how upset the public were about the tree, they were too cowardly to confess. So let's just have a look at this and the kind of punishment that they might get and the way the judge works it out. There's the beautiful tree, and this is the moment they cut it down, and you can hear the chainsaw. They enhance the picture, one of them filming, one of them cutting. Look at that, all those years of history. And these are the two men here in happier times. Look at them now. So the mugshots, Daniel, Graham, Adam Carruthers. There they are. There's the judge. And there they are. And how does the judge decide? Let's ask that question. Two factors, okay? Factor number one, how much harm was caused by the criminal's actions? And two, how deliberate was it? And actually, judges have a whole load of grids that they look at where they discuss harm and distress and culpability. So there's a lot of harm here. And then you go up to that side of the checklist, and there's an awful lot of culpability. So there was planning and premeditation. They might get a little bit less on that. They might say, oh, it was a spur of the moment thing. But essentially, you're looking at a range. It could just be a fine, or it could be a maximum of 10 years for each of them in jail. So that's the judge. Now, is there something more creative we could do? Could you say, plant trees for the rest of your sorry lives? So you basically set them on the road. They can go round. They have special badges on so we know who they are. Graham and Carruthers. Or face the public with fruit. This is the stocks. Back in the day, we had the chance to actually show our displeasure without killing them or anything or hurting them, but they'd be pelted with fruit. I know that's a bit old-fashioned. What about saying pay the entire cost of the damage to the tree, to the wall, and the case? You shower them with invoices so they're both bankrupted. Because remember, this, in some ways, ripped the heart out of one particular element of this country. And as long as we live, we'll never see that tree standing again. Oh, I don't know, Helen, what do you do if you're the judge?
Well, I think it's prison and some community service with an environmental charity and going out there and learning and giving back to the community.
OK, sentence. You can't do community service while you're in jail. So what sentence would you give them?
They come out because they're kicking people out early of the jails, aren't they? So they're not going to do their whole term.
How many years?
I think somewhere in the middle. It's not going to be as much as 10, but I think it needs to be more than one. I think the public wouldn't be happy with less. But then, you know, we see miscarriages of justice and people not getting long enough for lots of other crimes. So I think a couple of years.
Couple of years. Albie,
and
jail?
The service.
No, I wouldn't be in favour of jail. And I know this is going to upset a lot of people that were massive fans of this tree. But jail for cutting down a tree. I appreciate it was a very special tree, but honestly, maybe I'm ignorant. I didn't know what this tree was before this happened. That's not to say it's not important. Obviously, it's something very cherished in this country. But I think when we're talking about jail for cutting down a tree, when quite often on this show, Helen, you and I would be debating about jails being full and what do we do with violent criminals who are being let out early. If we can't even keep violent criminals in prison, why would we put someone in jail who chopped down a tree? Let's be creative, bring back the stocks, have them planting trees for the rest of their lives. Absolutely.
I mean, but OK, the creative thing, the stocks feels a bit fiendish. It doesn't hurt them. It does allow the public to
vent their anger.
Displeasure. You would only throw fruit.
Yes.
Is that acceptable at all as a thought? No.
Absolutely.
It is.
Look, why not bring back throwing rotten tomatoes at people? There's a whole festival in Spain, which is a tomato festival. These things work for a reason. Jails are too full. I don't think people should be going to jails for chopping down a tree, even if it's a special
tree. It's criminal damage. They did know what they were doing. It was premeditated.
They chopped down a tree, Helen. There are violent criminals who we can't even keep.
What if someone walked into your flat when you were out and set fire to it, and then, which is a horrible crime, and then people say, well, Albie, you don't think they should go to jail because they just damaged, and by the way, let's say your pet dog was in there as well. You'd still use your rule of, well, if no human beings were affected directly, it doesn't matter.
I think burning down someone's property where they live and killing their dog is quite different to chopping down a literal tree. Like, we can't compare someone's residence to a tree. I understand the public...
Your flat is not worth as much as that tree.
Yes, but
I know you think it is.
Someone lives in that flat and it is their home. A tree is very different. It's an inanimate object. I know people will be shouting at the television screen, but it's a tree.
Listen,
Can we just get a
I'm
sense
not
of
allowed to have
views.
views.
More than £450,000 of damage. So that it is quite a lot. And
jail for chopping down a tree.
Yeah, but you only think they should get 2 years. I don't. They should get at least 10. At least 10 years. Surely, he said, whilst also saying there is another side to this.
And sitting on the fence.
No, but I just think this is okay, there's no violence to a human being. To me, it is like burning down a cathedral. It's at that level. In fact, you can even argue it's more serious because it's natural and a cathedral is human, man-made. I just think that nature gave us that tree and they destroyed it. But I don't know. What do I know?
A cathedral can be built quicker than that tree, a new tree's going to grow.
Exactly. So, all right, you burn down Durham Cathedral, you'd say, 10 years for that. But no, it's a tree.
It's a place of worship. It's completely different to a
But it
tree.
can be rebuilt.
How many trees are chopped down every day? How much in the studio? We've got wooden panelling in here. I don't know if it's real, but let's say it is real. Trees were chopped down for that.
Legally.
I know this is a special tree, but 10 years for chopping down a tree.
Kathy is in Cheshire. How would you punish them, Kathy?
Well, I think that community service and planting trees is no punishment at all. I think there were countrymen who did that type of work anyway. And the alternative, sitting around chatting and watching television in jail with a crowd of men just for a few weeks, again, is no punishment at all. It perhaps will be quite enjoyable. Now, obviously for a long period it's a punishment. People have to remember that some people's homes don't look out on trees and other people are in a hospital ward, perhaps in a bed, just staring at a wall. And those huge historic trees are everybody's inheritance. Now, what would be cheaper for us and a good idea if they could have a short custodial sentence and spend a very short period, not so it's damaging, a short period in solitary confinement without a TV or a window, just sitting there and knowing what it's like for perhaps people in hospital who've done nothing wrong and have to sit there. And that might be an idea.
I didn't know where you were going with that. I thought you were going to say, look, if someone is terminally ill in hospital and they haven't got a view of a tree, they should be forced to hold one outside the window or something, or do something.
No, it's just they're not proper punishments. That
no, but I mean,
if a punishment for them, just sitting there staring at the wall, not idly chatting around with other men, watching TV in prison. That's not a punishment either.
Okay, all right. Listen, well, think about it. Thank you so much, Kathy. Pauline in Wiltshire. Hi.
Hello. Good morning.
If you were the judge, what would you do?
Okay, I wouldn't put them in prison because that's a waste of money and space. What I think they should do, which would please a lot of local people, is get the two guys to build a pair of stocks out of some of the remains of the tree, put it on social media, get local people, anyone, pay a bit of money to come and a basket of fruit, rotten fruit, given to them, and they get 2 minutes to throw it at these two men. I'm sorry if it sounds awful, but humiliation really sometimes works. That's what I think maybe should or could happen. It won't, but,
the last use of stocks was 1872 in Newbury in Berkshire. There was a case recently where an employer found an employee was stealing, and he put a placard on the guy's neck saying, "I am a thief," and walked him through the town. And of course, the employer, then got arrested. That's what happens. So the human rights lawyers would be all over it, wouldn't they? But we can dream.
We can change the law.
We can dream.
You would have to change the law because it's not part of our criminal justice system.
No, having the stocks.
Although I think it would get the public.
I agree.
It would get the public vote.
Well, here's an amazing thing. They have been astonished by the level of hatred that they've had, to the point where I think they had to stay in jail during this period between conviction and sentencing because they were in danger if they left jail. One of the people who was arrested originally, who was completely innocent, he was a forester and he came under suspicion. He's still dealing with the consequences of having been under suspicion, and he's had to disguise himself with a Rod Stewart wig. So that's how they're going to have a lot of hate coming their way. That's a punishment in itself. Peter in London, hi.
Hi.
Well, I can see you're thinking about this.
Hi, Jeremy. Well, my wife and I have thought very hard about this.
Good.
And our suggestion is they should be sent to somewhere in the middle of the forest with a forestry team and made to work looking after trees and learning how to use them for at least 2 years.
Right. I'm worried they might enjoy that. That's my only worry, Peter.
Well, if they enjoy it, they enjoy it. But they should be made how to look after trees, not chop them down.
Yeah. Well, that's good. What's your wife saying? Does she agree with that?
My wife agrees with me totally.
I heard her in the background. Well done, Peter. Thanks for watching. Bless you. A lot of tree rehabilitation. It's a new thing, isn't it? Because we need to plant hundreds of thousands of trees in this country. Could you say, when you've planted 100,000 trees, we'll talk. And that's basically their job for the next...
Until they retire.
Yeah, I mean, prison is meant to have rehabilitation, programmes and all of that as well. So it is still, I think,
They can't be rehabilitated.
But they can't.
No.
Well, maybe they can learn, but I still think it's a case of community service. You're saying fine them. What's the point of fining them? Because they're going to say, well, we can never work again because nobody's going to employ us.
Yeah.
Really?
What do you
so they
think
won't pay. They'll pay, can I pay £1 a week, please? Because I haven't got any money.
I always wonder why the state doesn't come after people for the costs of the case and the realistic costs of... Was a bit of Hadrian's Wall involved in this?
Yeah.
There's the tree. You could actually say each of them owes £1 million, and you could bankrupt them. But we don't tend to do that, Albie, do we?
No, we don't. But if someone, there's no realistic prospect of someone earning £1 million in their lifetime, there's not really much point in asking them to pay £1 million because it's just not going to happen, is it? So I think maybe if these men were wealthier, that's something they might have looked at doing. But I imagine they will have looked at the men's finance. They will be looking at the men's finances and seeing whether or not a fine would be appropriate. OK,
Hazel in Ayrshire, hi.
Hello. Good
How would you punish these two miscreants?
Well, I certainly wouldn't keep them in prison. I think it's all right that they're in there just now until they're sentenced. But I would give them very hard labour, digging, whether it be gardens or where in forests, planting trees or whatever, but really hard work and for a long time. And hopefully by the end of it, yes, they would actually come to love gardening and the growth of the trees, etc. And then it would be that would help to make them realise what a terrible thing they had done. But I certainly wouldn't let them off easily. I would have them there supervised by people who know what they're about, whether it be gardening, whether it's just not just trees, everything. Yeah. And there's plenty of that kind of work needs done. And
I do worry they might enjoy it. I mean, this thing of gardening, enforced gardening, sounds to me like a sort of lovely way to have a retirement in a way.
We're not talking about them just kneeling down and pulling out a few weeds or anything. We're talking about hard labour. Yeah. Make them do hard digging and stuff like that.
Well, maybe we can put them on. We're not doing HS2 anymore. Is there some sort of construction site they can go on?
I mean, I definitely think that they should. And so what if they enjoyed it actually? Surely the point of punishment in prison is that you get time to actually think about what you did wrong. And hopefully at the end of it, they would see and they could feel really bad about the fact that they had done it and really have great regret.
OK, Hazel, thank you. I'm just going to go to David quickly in Merseyside. What would you do, David?
Hello. Well, I'd put them in the stocks and throw tomatoes and rotten eggs or whatever. But, really, you want a good smack in the mouth, really.
Well, I was worried.
You're going to end up.
I don't know if we want to go straight to violence. I mean, wait to see what other things have success. They're not going to do it again. That's the way. So, because there isn't another tree like this. So they've chosen their victim. They've dispensed with the tree. There's no more trees. There's no possible reoffending in the same area. It's a really tricky one for the judge. I just think just go 10 years and that's it. It sorts it out. Later, it's the papers and everything else. Find out about the latest places to be hit with a hosepipe ban. After the break, we're asking if you're concerned about billionaires leaving Britain. Is it worrying news for our economy, or are you rather pleased to see them go? 020 7862 2222 is the